Hey, guess what? So I just want to show you this real quick. This was in the New York Times. And it just, again, so the New York Times has been really shitting the bed extra hard lately. And so they're the one that they just wrote that article. It said Russia controls black people's minds. They did that. They did one that the Russians using sex toys to control our minds. Did you see that one?
We heard about that one.
They're doing all this crazy stuff. And then here's just an article they wrote about Senators and Warren meet and agreed they both are probably running. But wait till you see. So that doesn't sound so bad, right? But listen to this article. Just listen. Since running an unexpectedly competitive race against Mrs. Clinton and becoming a global sensation on the political left, Mr. Sanders has exalted as the Democratic mainstream. What does that mean? Is that a misprint?
Exalted?
It says Mr. Sanders has exalted. Exalted? It's exalted, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Is that the right word?
Exalted as the Democratic mainstream. It has exalted. Yeah,
that's
seems
sort of
awkward phrasing.
That's an awkward phrasing. I don't know if it's necessarily incorrect, but it's like exalt. It's like
has exalted as the Democratic mainstream embraced central elements of his message, including his call for universal health care. So what this paragraph is saying is that, boy, all of a sudden this guy who had a message that people were dying to hear came out of nowhere, and now the Democratic establishment has tried to co-opt his message. That's what they're saying. Democratic mainstream embraced central elements of his message, including his call for universal health care. He called for Medicare for all. Universal health care is what Barack Obama said he gave you. Those are different.
And that's misleading on purpose.
I agree. So anyway, it's just funny. Yeah, yes, you're right. Because it makes it sound like what the Democrats are saying and what he's saying are the same thing. And they're not.
And the writer of this article knows that.
So when Chuck Schumer...
And if they don't know that, then you shouldn't be a journalist.
Right. So when Chuck Schumer says, well we're definitely for universal health care, that's not the same thing as Medicare for all.
That should sound the siren in your head that he's not going to work for you.
But listen, the point of this article is this. Watch this. I mean, the point of me showing you this article is, but he has done little to broaden his political circle and has struggled to expand his appeal beyond his base of primarily white voters.
According to what research and data that you collected, New York Times?
They don't say.
If I was Bernie Sanders, I would send the authors of this article all of my travel receipts for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
With a message that says, fuck you, happy holidays.
Didn't he just go down for the Martin Luther King's birthday and he gave a speech and everybody got on him because he was giving a speech and he criticized Barack Obama during it? Remember that? That wasn't an outreach. He's been traveling the country nonstop pushing for Medicare for all. He went on a unity tour with Tom Perez to appease the Democrat establishment. He got Amazon a raise of $15. He got the Disney workers a raise of. He's been going all over the country getting workers raises, and getting people and normalizing Medicare for all.
I was a full-time road comic for 5 years.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, I look at that dude's schedule. I'm like, how does he freaking do that?
It's hard.
Ridiculous.
People have no idea how hard that is. People don't. I tried to follow him around one day on the campaign trail in California. It was exhausting. And he was the one giving the speeches. So he has done little, really. I would like to, as Ron says, I would like to just forward you his travel schedule for the last 6 months. How about that?
Well, you know how Hillary Clinton was able to expand her appeal.
She expanded her appeal. She lost all the people that Barack Obama got to vote for him.
And on that campaign trail, she hit every nook and cranny. Oh, wait. Never mind.
Ms. Warren has, like Mr. Sanders, continued to present herself as a scourge of Wall Street greed. But she has worked aggressively to win over a wider range of supporters and has sought to draw a thinly veiled... She's worked aggressively. Not Bernie Sanders, but Elizabeth Warren has. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, yeah. She helped the Amazon workers. No.
No, it turns out it was Bernie.
She helped the Disney... No.
It turns out that was Bernie. Isn't that funny? To draw a thinly veiled contrast between herself and her self-identified Democratic Socialist colleague by noting that she is a proud capitalist.
Boo!
Well, I do think it's time the capitalists get their day. I mean, we never hear from them. When are they going to get the recognition they deserve?
When are they going to get control of our economy? Someday the capitalists will be in charge, and boy, look out then. Everybody's boats will rise.
Yeah, boy, she is such the scourge of Wall Street, that proud
she'll
capitalist.
That proud capitalist.
What an outsider. The proud capitalist.
She has also been aggressive in attempting to cultivate friendships in the party.
She endorsed Hillary Clinton. Everybody.
Again, she has also been aggressive in attempting to. She's the aggressive one, not Bernie.
She's really working hard, rubbing elbows with her colleagues, saying she's a capitalist. Hard work.
The hard work of being a mainstream establishment person. She has also been aggressive in attempting to cultivate friendships in the party. Her session with Mr. Sanders was the latest. And so it was her giving a session to him. He wasn't a part of that, apparently. He doesn't get credit for that. Isn't that interesting?
Elizabeth Warren went up to him and was like, hey, you're not even a Democrat, but I'm going to help you out anyway.
She gets credit for the meeting, but not Bernie. That's hilarious.
I wonder who the New York Times would support.
The latest. Her session with Mr. Sanders was the latest and perhaps most significant of dozens of lunches and dinners that she had in Washington and Boston with party leaders. So Bernie's out there where the rubber meets the road, and what they're saying is what he really should be doing is hobnobbing inside the Beltway with party leaders and business people and, lobbyists and money bundlers. He's not doing that. He's out there meeting people and getting stuff done. We don't need that in Washington. This is amazing. That she's the one. She's hanging out with party leaders of Union of progressive activists too. So when Bernie goes and does this stuff, honest to God, let's just send you Bernie's travel schedule for the last 2 years. Honest to God,
Jimmy, she's done this in recent months, and I'm totally won over now. All I can think of it is she's cultivated friendships. That's who I'm looking for to run this country.
This article was written at a Nancy Pelosi dinner party, and if you look hard enough, there's a mimosa stain on one of the drafts. I guarantee it.
And by the way, this whole article is built on a false assumption that Bernie isn't popular with minorities. That's a completely false assumption. Assumption.
Or assumption.
You want to see how I know this? Okay, well, here is. So Clara Jeffrey was having a conversation with Christmas chair Liz Bruning. She's a journalist at the Washington Post. And she said Bernie routinely scores higher favorables from non-whites than whites, even in this recent Gallup poll. So he gets...
Oh, no, she's showing evidence?
So there's evidence, there's a link, there's a source, there's real news.
Maybe New York Times didn't have access to this kind of research information, Jimmy.
And then she posts another link to another story that says the same thing, and that's from the Washington Post. So now she's got the Gallup poll, she's got the Washington Post, and she says Bernie really has an older person problem, ironically, he does. He does better with young people than he does with old people. And Clara Jeffrey, who, if you don't know who she is, she's the editor of Mother Jones, which Mother Jones turned into Fox News. I don't know how that happened, but it happened, and it happened under her. And she says this. Watch this. This shows you what kind of duplicitous, lying people they are. She goes, that's because whites as a group are more conservative. And then there's the new Cos poll, which is the Daily Cos poll, which has him beating behind Beto and Biden. But the real issue, now here it comes, the real issue is that people of color is among people of color party organizers whom he has not won over at all. So she's saying the neoliberals who are inside the party, the corporatist Democrats of color who are in the party, he hasn't won them over. He's won over all the people of color.
But not the corporate tools?
So I love this. Carl says, let this sink in. When faced with the widespread support for Bernie Sanders among voters who aren't white, Clara Jeffrey responds that, quote, the real issue is what a few powerful party leaders think. That's the real issue. That's what she just freaking said. That's what, if you can't read that, that's what it says. But the real issue is among people of color party organizers. Not the people, but some party insiders.
So he's not going to lunch with people then?
So I guess not. This Carter says, my hypothesis is that liberals keep doing this because they've been conditioned to think that being more liberal is to be morally superior. So if anyone is to their left, instead of reckoning with this idea, they grasp at straws to make anyone to their left morally inferior. Boy, we felt that here for quite a while. So I've told you that. I found out when I decided I wouldn't support the two-party duopoly and vote for another warmongering corporatist, when I decided I wouldn't do that, I was then deemed morally inferior to anybody who was then going to vote for that corporatist warmonger. So when you're to the left of someone who, especially someone who considers themselves left, they don't debate your idea. They first have to smear you, and then maybe they'll take on your idea. And we found that out. I found that out for sure at this show when I couldn't cotton to supporting another. I couldn't do the same thing over and over and hope for a better outcome. I was done being insane. And here he says that they grasp at straws to make anyone to their left morally. And I'm standing up for Medicare for all, ending the wars, and people would make you think that I'm some kind of a Nazi or something. Yeah, if you listen to the critics of the show. I think that's basically right, Carl says. You can see how a lot of criticism of socialists begins with a kind of instinctive suspicion of their motives and a general guilty until proven innocent posture. And then, from there, backfills some kind of flimsy ad hoc criticism to justify this. That's exactly what happens. Look how people go after the Green Party or Jill Stein.
Yeah, look at how people go after the Green Party. Look at how people go after Bernie that way.
Yes.
You can go across the pond. What did Jeremy Corbyn say under his breath? I thought he said stupid woman. I mean, it's a worldwide thing.
That's amazing. Jeremy Corbyn might have said stupid woman under his breath.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't, by the way.
No, he didn't. Yeah.
He said stupid people.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you get to say whatever the fuck you want under your breath. Are they going to get him for thinking something next? He was thinking something. You could see it in his eyes. He was thinking bitch. I could see it in his eyes. He was thinking it. I like this. Well, she's right. The DNC is a private club. They select the nominee regardless of the vote. The DNC is attested to as much in court. And she's right.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
She unintentionally showed her hand.
Yeah, you mean Claire Jeffrey?
Yes.
Yeah. So the editor of Mother Jones unintentionally did reveal that it doesn't matter if the people of color and the people and the voters like Bernie. What matters is the party insiders will screw him again. It amazes me that she can be so incredibly tone deaf. If she had a brain in her head, that observation would be spoken in secret, not broadcast to God and everyone on Twitter. That's the amazing thing, that Clara Jeffrey doesn't know that you should say that in secret. Oh, what she's basically saying is, yeah, the people are for Bernie, but the crooked inside party people aren't. You know, the people who cheated him, they're not for him. And they're of color. It isn't tone deafness. Clara Jeffrey attended Sidewell Friends, same elite private school as Chelsea Clinton and the Obama kids. She truly believes America's elites know best and sees nothing wrong with saying so. And I think that's actually it. Because if you read Listen Liberal, you figure out that this all has to do with class. There's a class war happening. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez makes the point, and I agree with it, that we get tricked into thinking it's a left-right. These are left-right issues. They're top-down issues. It's us against them.
Yeah, Saul Alinsky's been saying it for years. It's have and have-nots.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, that's what it is. Haves and have-nots.
Haves and have-nots. Yep. And it was when Fred Hampton started talking to the white have-nots that they killed him. I like this. I love this. Clara Jeffrey. Bernie is only popular with whites. Liz. Actually, no. Clara. Bernie isn't popular with the party bosses.
Well, nice. You stumped me.
The voters don't really matter is the part they usually don't say out loud.
They saved that for court.
They saved that for court. That's so great. So there you go. There's the New York Times. Could not be, again, I'm going to... could not be doing worse work lately. I know they do. There's lots of good work over there. I mean, they got a couple of thousand reporters. I'm sure they're going to have some good stories. I mean, you send somebody out to cover the car crash. I mean, how much could they screw that up? But they screw up all the important stuff. They screw up all the important stuff. Politics, neoliberalism, class warfare, actual warfare, progressive politics. It's amazing. And so now they're pushing Elizabeth Warren over Bernie because she's a little bit less radical than Bernie. She's a little bit more friendly. We made that point about Elizabeth Warren is that she, in front of the camera, she likes to wag her finger at the banks and says you should resign, but she never says you should be in jail. She never says you should be in jail. And by the way, I'm going to urge the Attorney General to file charges. That never happens. We pointed that out before. So it seems like a bit of a grandstand when she wags her fingers at the banks. When they have a hearing, Wells Fargo just got done screwing 3 million of their own customers, and then Elizabeth Warren gives them a nice dressing down, and then that's it. No one goes to jail. But anyway, we'll see. I mean, if it comes down to Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, I'll take Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. But if it comes down to Elizabeth Warren and anybody else, I'll take Elizabeth Warren.
Well, the funny part, too, here is that something Elizabeth Warren did recently that I actually like is her Office of Drug Manufacturing proposal that she's working on. So the one piece of legislation that she's behind that I think is good, they didn't even mention that. Like, they didn't mention one of the good things she's doing. They're just like, she's hanging out with her colleagues, doing the work.
I'm still waiting for a Clean Water Act that has to be required that people get clean water. Like, I'm waiting for that. And
they're gutting it. They're actually going the other way.
I'm waiting for a jobs program.
That's not going to happen. But thanks, Steph, for reminding us of what we don't have. Okay, there you go. New York Times doing great work. Also, Mother Jones, Claire Jeffrey. Now you want, and again, they don't care if they keep losing. Just keep that in mind, okay? They don't care. They actually enjoy Trump being president. I know that sounds crazy to say, but it doesn't really screw them up too much because they don't have to do any self-reflecting. They don't have to cut any of their corporate ties, and it keeps everybody distracted from reform. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is February 1st in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a list of all our live shows, and please become a premium member if you can. Become a patron. It's the way we support this show because they're coming at us, and we give you bonus. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Check it out. Become a patron. And if you can, make sure you're still subscribed. They unsubscribe people every day. I know it sounds crazy. It only takes a second. Please make sure and click that bell when you subscribe so they'll send you a notice when we